Hello and welcome to another Guardians of the Witch video. I'm your host Dewi and it's just me today. This is the first time I've been on camera, face to face, by myself, so hopefully it'll be alright. And I'm going to do a review of the Final Fete of the Witchking tournament which me, Luke and Dewi Clubley went to on Saturday just gone. So it was a 400 point event. Oh, here comes Milo. Hey buddy. 400 point event hosted by Mel Mascarenhas at Income Gaming in Cheltenham. And you will have seen that I took my Mahood. My force was a king with 3 Mahood with blowpipe, 4 with spear and blowpipe, 1 with banner, spear, blowpipe, and 2 raiders with war spears and blowpipes as well. And the king had a war spear and a shield. And in the other warband was a tribes master and a similar setup again, just without the banner. So it came to 21 models in total, and we had 5 games across the day, all an hour and a quarter each, and they were capped at 12 VPs, and they were custom scenarios by Mel. So I'll talk you through a bit about them all as we get to each one. So we'll first go into game 1, which we found out the draw for about 2 days before, I think, and I was against Ben Camp. So as I said, game 1 was against Ben Camp. I'm going to try and kind of limit these to about 5 minutes each maximum, so that I don't waffle on for too long. Ben Camp. So he had a Gilgalad, a Stormcaller, and a mix of, he had 3 Kingsguard, 3 High Elf with Spear and Shield. The Kingsguard had Spear and Shield, a couple of guys with blade, like 5 guys with blades, and about 6 bows. And we were playing Take and Hold, which was basically there's a 6-inch bubble in the middle objective, and you had to get as many models in and around. I've got a tournament pack here, I think. Oh, maybe not. But it was basically you've got to get to the middle. And we started off kiting quite a lot. Because of the rules of deployment, if you got a 1, your opponent could deploy that warband leader, and therefore the warband, anywhere on the board. So it started off with Ben and myself using a point from Gilgalad and Mahood King to make it a 2, so we could put them in the back half of our board edge, or board half. Then it progressed to us kiting around this middle rock feature, because there was quite a few rocky outcrops across the whole battlefield. Then his Stormcaller was trying to cause a few issues with my raiders, and cast Core Winds on a 1, which obviously was slightly amusing for both of us. And eventually it came down to a bit of a slugfest in the centre, and it's a game I didn't perform very well in. Just the dice didn't go my way. When the lines hit, even though Ben was winning the fights, and he slaughtered my whole front line pretty much. So he killed about 5 or 6 guys in the first turn of combat with high elves, which I did not expect. And then once there was room for my camels, they didn't cause the impact that I wanted them to. Just didn't roll the 6s and therefore put pressure on him. They didn't. The impalers didn't kill much. So it came down. As soon as the lines hit, it was over very, very quickly. And there was, in every scenario, there was 1 and 2 points for wounding and killing a leader, 1, 3 and 5 points for breaking, so it was 1 point if neither of you are broken, 3 points if both of you are broken, 5 points if they are broke but you are not. So that's how the scenario played out. And in the end, Ben had probably, you will have seen it, probably about 6 or 7 models I would say in the middle, and I probably had about 5 or 6, probably a little bit more for Ben. And he slaughtered my king in the last turn, which didn't go down too well. So my first game ended up in a 6-1 loss. Not the best start to the day, slightly not annoyed, but it was just the dice were not in my favour. So at the end of game 1 I had suffered a 6-1 loss. I think Luke suffered a loss as well. So that led me on to game 2. So game 2 was against Nico, who is a French guy who has recently moved to the Gloucester area, I think. And he had an Angmar army, which was really cool. He had Gulliver, a Barrow Wight, a Spectre, and then just orcs, with varying equipment, some shields, some spears, some shield and spear, some guys with nothing, just a hand weapon. And we played it on a board that had it was kind of a Gondorian crossroads, but the crossroads were across the centre going corner to corner. And we played a game called Age of Heroes. And you got 1 and 2 for leader, 1, 3, 5 for breaking again. You got, then you got, it was something like 1, 2 and 3 for, what's that, 5, 7, yeah, something like that for your heroes getting more kills than the opponent's heroes. And then you got 1 and 2 for models being within the centre 6. 1 if you had more, 2 if they had none at all. And the 1, 3 and 2 for the hero kills were 1 if you had more, 2 if you had twice, and 3 if you had 3 times as many, or something like that. And it started with a very tense moment waiting for Gulliver to try and jump over these ruins to heroic combat or hurl or whatever my camels, because they were behind my infantry. And I remember setting up my infantry, so there was kind of ruins on either side, and Nico had to kind of funnel through this one straight area. And in my first couple of blowpipe rounds, so I kited back a little bit, I killed 4 or 5 of his orcs. In the first turn alone I remember I killed 3 spearmen as well, so get rid of that extra attack. And then eventually he managed to use his Spectre to fell-light a Mahud raider away from the other raiders, and Gulliver could then have a line of sight from behind his ruins and jump on him. At this point, I'd already lost a game. I was there just having fun, so I thought, yeah, why not? And charged my king and my tribesmaster into Gulliver. And because they're in combat and the Mahud special rule, which was being used, the TOS, the Throne of Skulls army bonus, all warriors within 6 inches of them pass courage test, and especially benefit against Angmar when spirits cause orcs within 3 inches to cause terror. I then charged with another 2 raiders, and the 4 impaler hits caused 2 wounds on Gulliver straight away. So that took him from 4 wounds to 2, which was, obviously that's only 2 attacks now as well. And then it came to the combat phase. And I struck with my king, he struck with Gulliver, he went to fight 9, I went to fight 7, and so I rolled my dice, having the +1 on the charge and the lances, and got my 6, and then he rolled his 2 dice with Gulliver and only got a 3 highest. So even with his last 2 points of might, he couldn't get the 6 to match me and therefore win the fight, which I was amazed at. And then realising that Gulliver is only defense 5, and my king is strength 5 with a lance, I would needed 3s to wound him, and Gulliver was then squished, which was amazing, absolutely incredible. He posed a massive threat, and if that had gone the other way, he would have been able to kill my leader, rend, throw me, anything, and just cause havoc. and then Gulliver would have been on the rampage. So then it basically became down to Gulliver's out the way, the Barrow-Wight's not going to kill anything, let's just try and kill as many as possible, as quickly as possible. Whilst also keeping my heroes charging more models more than 3 inches away from the Barrow-Wight, so they didn't have terror, and therefore letting all my other guys attack the guys close to the Barrow-Wight. And it came down to it that I just slaughtered, and in the end he had 3 models left by the time I 25%ed him, and the Barrow-Wight had died, and the one orc that was within 6 inches of the centre objective managed to beat a charging Mahud king, so therefore denied me max VPs by 1 model. So eventually killing Gulliver, breaking him but I wasn't broken, getting 3 times as many kills and having more models within the centre, that's 11, so I won 11-0. So that put me in slightly better spirits, showed what the Raiders and the King and the Tribesmaster can do on the charge. Really, really happy with it. Really good guy to play against. Little bit lucky with the dice, but all in all I was happy with how I played that one. So we'll move on to game 3. So game 3 was a game called Ancient Artifacts, and that I played Mark Kempster. I met him a couple of times before, really nice guy, and first time I played him. And he had his traditional Iron Hills, he had Thorin and Dwalin on goats, then he had, I think it was 5 spear and shield in each, along with 1 crossbowman in each. So not a big army at all, really, really powerful though, big heroes. And the Ancient Artifacts, there was a centre objective, and then there was 4 artifacts that you could place around the board. So we ended up placing them. 3 were heavily weighted on one side, and 1 was slightly off to the other. And I got to pick board edge, so I chose the one where obviously the 3 artifacts were. So basically, every time you went up to an artifact, you could roll to see if what it was. It was something like, on a 1 it was nothing. On the 2 there was a Warhorn you could use for 1 turn, you passed all courage tests. There was a +1 defence for a hero which you had to pass on. There was a Fate one where you passed Fate rolls on a 3+, but you could not use Might, and on a 1 the special artifact ran out. And the last one was, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Defence, Fate, Horn, nothing. There was a 6-inch banner which you could use, and the other one was cause terror for a hero. The Horn and the banner were warrior only, the other 3 were hero only, and you could pass them off. So it started with me going and claiming 3 of them. I got the Horn and the Fate roll for my Mahud King. Mark picked up the terror one for Dwalin, which was slightly strange and awkward for me, having low courage models anyway. So it started with one of my warbands hitting one of his warbands. Just the guys on foot, my camels had kind of skirted away and they were moving up towards the middle. It was a little bit of a crossroads with really low hedges, so cavalry could fly, like run over them as normal. And then it worked out that my king and my tribesmaster went over to help with my camels to get near Dwalin. Sorry, battery just died, so new one in. And yeah, so Dwalin was all focused up, and it ended up my tribesmaster jumping onto Dwalin, not killing his goat, us both striking. Mark only rolled a 1, I think. Well, either way, we struck to the same level when I should have easily struck higher. I think it was my Mahud. Dwalin was out of might by this point, and I struck and got a 1. So I should have struck higher, and it ended up a drawn fight, and it went to a roll-off, and luckily I won it. So having, I think it was 3 camels one of them being a king on Dwalin, caused enough wounds to kill him outright. Then it became a little bit of a, and then I called a heroic move to charge some dwarves, but Mark didn't counter call it because Thorin couldn't get away anyway because he brought him close for the banner effect. And then I swamped Thorin with King, Tribesmaster and 2 camels, killed his goat on the way in, also caused a wound which he used his fate for and then mighted that, so that's 1 might down. He then, I think he then rolled a 1 on the Thrown Rider chart, so he's thrown to the floor. He then, I think we both struck, and he had to use a point of might to get up and win the fight. Then the next turn, I charged him with the Tribesmaster and 2 camels. He didn't get the 6, I got the 6, and then I managed to crush Thorin, because strength 4 with lances on the charge is terrifying and a massive impact. Then essentially I just kind of finished off the other dwarves or kept them tied up and went towards the middle, and my camels did extra work over there. And it ended up my like 10-12 models versus his 4 or 5, and it just didn't end well. However, 1 dwarf held out, which was frustrating, and it came down to 1 model in the middle again, which denied me max VPs. I ended up getting 10 victory points out of 12, and Mark got 0 for having people within the centre objective, and then killing his leader and breaking him. So after 3 games I was 2-1, which I was happy with. I always try to go to tournaments and get a positive win-loss result. So I'll bring on to game 4. So game 5, top table. First time I've been there. Really happy with it, and it was a game or a scenario called Defend the Camp. And essentially you roll a dice and one of you became a defender and one of you became an attacker. The defender put 1 warband in the middle 6-inch bubble, or it was a 6-inch radius bubble, so 12-inch bubble in the middle, and the other one, or the rest of the army, was in reserve. The opponent, the attacker, me in this case as I won the roll off, then placed his whole army in kind of the middle 24 inches of each board edge. You could put 1 in one area, and then another in another. You could put it all in one. So I end up having my 2 warbands kind of either side of a ruin, or making their way to either side of a ruin, and Sam placed his orcs and Barrowway. He was Angmar again. It was very similar army to the one that I faced before with Nico. They had Gulliver, a Barrowwhite, 2 Wild Riders with nothing, and then a load of orcs. No shooting as well, and no Spectre this time. Excuse me. So he ended up with his Barrowwhite, a Wild Rider and orcs in the middle. I ended up with my 2 coming either side of the ruin, and there was another big ruin. So as you're looking at it, say bottom up is my 2 warbands are here. I've then got a ruin. Then there is the middle, and there's a bigger ruin here. And Sam's army his Gulliver warband ended up coming on first turn, kind of up here. So it ended with, well, it started with very cagey, both top table, both wanting to win. I had 19 blowpipes in total. I ended up moving up and trying to just pick off orcs here and there with blowpipes, and while he was waiting for Gulliver. So it was kind of, I was trying to get kills without going and getting engaged, because I knew Gulliver would come over and do some damage. Sam was trying to wait for Gulliver so he could come and do some damage. And it ended up me killing 2 orcs up until like the turn before combat. So by this point, Gulliver had moved up, the other orcs had moved up, the other Arg Rider had moved up, and we were all kind of we were probably about 8-9 inches apart, and just kind of being really cagey. And when Sam got the rest of his army together, he then thought, right, I'll charge forward. And in the process, in that shoot phase, I killed 5 orcs, I want to say. I think 3 with shield and 2 with spear. And that's the most I'd done. I was rolling useless dice up until that point for shooting, and suddenly it came good. And it meant that kind of the lines clashed, and then the second turn the lines clashed, I know Gulliver couldn't see my camel, so he went on the end of the line and obviously like called a heroic combat. On the other side of the ruin there was the Barrow White's warband, and he moved up and didn't cast anything. So in that moment I saw there was a chance to get my Tribesmaster in and heroic combat round to the Barrow White. In the same vein, Gulliver called a heroic combat, like I said. He hurled along the line, killed the guy he hurled, but killed one other, and my banner survived. So then we did that heroic combat. I then heroic combated into the Barrow White, killed the Barrow White in the turn I hit it with my lance and my strength 5 because it's my Tribesmaster. Gulliver then hurled back through where my banner was, still didn't kill the banner, and kind of got caught up on the far side, behind my army. Then the combats were going all around, and there wasn't much killing, to be fair. And then it came down to like the last turn, and I know I needed to kill stuff just to be sure. But so did Sam, because I'd killed a few more than him. By this point, I think he was halfway to breaking before we hit combat, and then he'd lost a few more, and I'd lost a few, probably about 4 or 5. Then, in one of the last turns, my king came out from behind the ruins because I knew Gulliver was going to try and get him. Then he heroic combated an orc that was on the floor and just went forward and tried to kill some more because I didn't want to give away VPs. But in the same vein, my Tribesmaster managed, after all the combats were peeled off, to charge round into Gulliver with 1 point of might left. I called a strike at fight 4, but Sam called a heroic combat because he knew he had to kill stuff. By this point there were orcs and warriors just fighting all around everywhere. And I'd lost 1 or 2 camels. And I ended up striking higher than Gulliver, hitting with my lance and causing a wound or 2 on him, giving me VPs. And then in the final turn of combat, I seemed to win the majority of fights and kill his orcs, which astounded both of us. The last turn didn't reflect the game at all. Thoroughly enjoyable and nerve-wracking, and Sam's a great opponent, and it just didn't quite fall his way. By the sounds of it, he played really well all day, but didn't quite get there in the end. And it worked out that I broke him, wasn't broken, his leader had a wound, and I had more models around in the camp, and I ended up winning 9-0. So that was game 5. So basically there was about 3 of us on 4 and 1, possibly 4. And it all came down to VPs. And I knew I had and it was something like, Sam could still win the tournament if he lost, if he stayed within a certain number of VPs of me. But the 9-0 final game kind of pushed him out of the reckoning. Oh, getting messages. And in the end, Sam finished 3rd, as you would have seen. Shane finished 2nd, Carville Moore. and I came first, which I was so happy with, so happy with, and came up with a win. You will have seen my prizes. I'll show you them a bit. I'll put some photos up on the Guardians of Wiltshire Facebook page, and really happy, really happy. Great tournament. I'll possibly try and put the event pack up somewhere as well. So yeah, that was my tournament review. Nice, short, sharp. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please comment, like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.